I told you right off the top of the show we have breaking news. 76ers star center Joel Embiid is finalizing a 4-year, $196 million SUPERMAX contract extension, which will keep him under contract in Philly through the 26-27 season for a total of $261 million. Now, he missed the entire first 2 seasons of his career due to injuries, but since then he has battled through more, missing at least 18 games in each of the last 5 years, which is one of the reasons this might have been somewhat risky. Obviously, his play this past season was spectacular, and here's the man with all the news. This is WOJ, who joins us live with more. WOJ, what more can you tell us about the Embiid deal?
Greeny, as our Ramona Shelburne reported this morning, the deal takes him now through that 2026-2027 season. He'll have a player option on the final year of the deal, but it locks up for Philadelphia the cornerstone of their franchise, and it certainly shows they have no concerns about his health moving forward. You know, there are no injury protections in this deal, Ramona reports, and there were protections in his last max deal that if he did get injured and miss games, that he wouldn't be guaranteed the full amount. But this is a fully guaranteed deal for Joel Embiid, who, by the way, negotiated it himself.
So that's interesting. And I'm also interested in the fact that you described him as the cornerstone of the franchise, because as recently as a year ago, we would have said that was a franchise that had cornerstones in the plural. What does this mean for Ben Simmons and his future in Philly?
Well, Philadelphia has continued to try to see if they could find a deal for Simmons before the start of camp. They have not had success in really getting any traction for the high asking price they're asking for Ben Simmons. You know, Minnesota's one team that has been persistent with Philadelphia, but they've needed to have really third and even 4 teams in those kind of deals to get back Philly what it would want. And I think for the Sixers, if they're going to trade Ben Simmons, they've got to get back players right now who continue on that Joel Embiid timeline of having an MVP level player in his prime that you're trying to win championships with. And that's a hard package to get back for Ben Simmons right now. There's a very distinct possibility he's going to have to come back to training camp with them next season. Remember, he's got 4 years left on his deal. He's nowhere near free agency, and they're going to have to, it seems, if they don't find a deal, try to increase his value, get him off to a good start next year, and then revisit trades during the season. But things can change, and certainly Philly's still motivated to find a deal between now and the start of the season.
That remains overwhelmingly the most interesting thing that either will or won't happen between now and then. Outstanding. Woj, as always, thank you for getting up with us here. Again, the late news, Joel Embiid gets the SUPERMAX in Philly. Meanwhile, coming up here.
End of an era in L.A. for the Clippers, at least. Over the weekend, they traded longtime point guard Patrick Beverley to the Grizzlies for Eric Bledsoe, who's headed back to the team that drafted him. Also going to Memphis in the trade, Rajon Rondo, Daniel Arturo. The deal saves the Clippers $30 million in luxury tax and creates an $8.3 million traded player exception that they will have a year to lose. Max Kellerman. Did the Clippers improve?
They did. This was a good trade for the Clippers. You know how I say don't want to trade, bring a dollar into 4 quarters in the NBA, but you want it to 4 quarters into $1? Mm-hmm. This is more like 2 quarters into a 50-cent piece. Eric Bledsoe can attack the basket. You give up Patrick Beverley, he's a defender. Rondo, high basketball IQ, but Rondo getting long in the tooth. Like, he really has been in decline, and we saw it even like playoff Rondo. When playoff Rondo show up, that tells you he's just getting older. And Patrick Beverley was never a dynamic offensive player, but he could play some defense and, give you that fighting spirit. Well, Bledsoe does the same thing. He can do defensively and even maybe more disruptive defensively sometimes based on his athletic ability. Than a guy, than what they've lost. And meantime, he's a player who can get to the basket and score. And they have shooting on the team, so Bledsoe's not a great shooter, but it's not as much of an issue. In fact, the space may even help him attack the basket. This is the Clippers just got better because they got the best player in the deal.
Max, I disagree with you. It's not that I'm saying that Patrick Beverley is better than Eric Bledsoe, because I'm not. And I like Eric Bledsoe. He's not a scrub. He can play really strong as well, and he can put some points up, and I get that point. So technically speaking, you're right. about him being a better player. But I got to tell you, I'd rather have Patrick Beverley come postseason. And last time I checked, the Clippers are trying to win the championship. This is what it is. The Los Angeles Clippers, a legitimate argument could be made, should be standing here today as NBA champions. If Kawhi Leonard had gone down near the end of the Utah series, a lot of people believe the Clippers would have beaten the Phoenix Suns. And I'm not ruling that out. Not with Kawhi and Paul George playing the way that he was playing. With Kawhi averaging 30 on 57% shooting from the field and 39% from three-point range before he went down. But then when you take into account, the energizer bunny that Patrick Beverley was, his ability to defend, and he actually was hitting some key, not in abundance, but he was hitting some key pivotal shots. End of the Utah series, obviously a couple of games against Phoenix. I just look at it from the standpoint that being the professional Hall of Fame pest that he is, somebody that doesn't just goes out there and plays, but really, really tries to get into your head. I don't see that in Eric Bledsoe. I see a guy that just goes out there and plays hard. He doesn't cheat you. He's got game. He can play, but he's not somebody that's an energizer bunny that provides that kind of spark. And I think that come postseason time, particularly when you look at the West Conference, I think those kind of intangibles are things that you need to get you over the hump. And I don't see that being Eric Bledsoe, which is why he was on from Milwaukee and why they had no problems trading him for Drew Holiday. And ultimately, he was saddled in New Orleans before, and ultimately Memphis before he ended up being back in Los Angeles with the Clippers. I think that Beverley is going.
That anybody had a bad weekend. Please don't get me wrong, but when I looked at Zach Wilson, it was 6 of 9 passes for just 63 yards, but he was throwing like 5 different receivers. He was efficient on third down. He was in control, and I think for me, Max, is really, really simple in this regard. I'm thinking about what you're going to be asked to do for the most part during a game, and whether or not that's something you look smooth and comfortable and efficient doing more so than anything else. I'm not trying to say that it was a lights out performance or, you saw a spectacular play from him here or there. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that what I saw from him is what I would expect from a starting quarterback on a Sunday afternoon. It wasn't anything heroic or anything like that. It was just somebody who looked smooth and comfortable and in complete control. And when I think about the 7 first downs or so that he helped accumulate, along with, 2 field goals, his efficiency on third down, the intermediate throws that he was throwing out there, those are the kind of things I take away when I'm looking at you and I'm saying, okay, if by some happenstance you ended up starting week 1, can you do those things, and can you do those things efficiently? And that's all I mean by that. I saw the spectacular, and I'll leave that to you. But for me personally, what I expect from a starting quarterback, what I would be looking for, what I think they're going to be asked to do, and how I parlay that with what I actually saw, I found him to be most impressive.
Oh, you're getting influenced by Greeny? I mean, Greeny's a Jets fan.
I didn't watch Greeny. I didn't watch Greeny this morning. I usually do, but I missed it this morning.
Greeny about 15 minutes ago said he wasn't going to hear on Get Up of anyone other than Zach, the answer being Zach Wilson. Because he's a Jets fan. Stephen A. asked me, I say it was Daniel Jones, and he didn't play because I'm a Giants fan. Daniel Jones in the mix. That's what. And Zach Wilson, based on what we were hearing out of camp and how he showed up, that's the greatest difference. He looked really good, and we were hearing he looked bad, and he's looked really good. But if the question is just, which it is, who had the most impressive rookie quarterback debut?